Hello, welcome to Dad's Ears, learning the language of autism. My name is Belle Barraway, and this is the part B of the water, autism and senses, and how it can influence or affect play, either positively or otherwise. The video that we did last week, I hope you enjoyed that one on water, and if your child or autistic person, young person, adult, finds water not very enjoyable or very stressful, I hope that you found it useful and that there were some tips and some things on there that you haven't yet tried. Any feedback from any of these videos would be really useful to know, what's working, what isn't working, and what else you've discovered along the way. It would be really great to add to the toolbox of ideas and different things we can try to help our children have a more stress-free experience in life. So this week is if your child loves water, like loves it, and just wants to be in water all the time and seeks water out wherever they go. Or if they just, don't mind it and enjoy it rather than don't like it. So the computer thing worked really well last time, so I'm doing that again this time. So my computer is there. So if I keep glancing over there, it's because I'm reading my notes, because otherwise I'll go off on a tangent. So the first thing is often when we are parents to autistic children, and if there is something that they really enjoy doing, the first thing we're often told is, it's don't let them become obsessed with one thing. And I think I've learned enough now, I know enough now. I mean, personally, I never stopped that. That wasn't a thing for us with our son, because who am I to say whether he should be liking that anymore or not, or it's too much. So George still has some of the same passions that he's always had, and he's added loads more on as well. So I would say if water is a thing, and I've heard many parents say, I can't get my kid out of the bath. They just want to be in the bath all the time. They're in there for hours, or they just want to keep playing with water and nothing else. Why they're young, or any age really, but it's normally why they're young. Let them do it, I'd say. That's my opinion. My personal opinion is they need to do it for a reason. They get a lot of pleasure from it. It may relax them. It may help them decompress. It may help them regulate. There may be stuff going on between them and the water that a neurotypical person would have no idea. For example, years ago, I was blessed enough to do a camp with autistic kids and their family members on horses, and one of the boys on this particular trip was non-verbal, autistic, and he loved water, like big time. And it was kind of like overtaking everything else in their life. So their parents brought him on this trip to go on horses, experience horses and sensory stuff around horses, which was amazing. And he was happy to be on the horse, but whenever he saw a puddle or anything to do with water, he just would like dive off the horse. And he was quite young at the point. I don't know how old he was, but from memory, I think he was about maybe 5, 6, 7, something like that. So it was obviously quite stressful, and Mum was really stressed out, and they were all really stressed because he kept diving off this big horse. They were worried about him hurting himself. Anyway, there was a man volunteering on this particular camp, and he was autistic himself and also a photographer. a wildlife photographer, and he said, I think I know what's going on here. Would you just let me take some photographs of him with my, super duper lens, where I can slow everything right down and we can sort of see what's, I can show you what's happening. So they were like, yeah, okay. So he spent a couple of hours with this boy, just following him around and watching him do his thing with water. And what he would do, he would just, what looked like to a neurotypical person or someone that didn't have the skill to see, was that he was just splashing water in the air, and it was just, how water splashes up. But I remember sitting down and being one of the first people to see this. I wished I did see if I could find some photographs online, but I couldn't find any. And it's such a shame, because it's difficult to fathom if you don't actually see it. But I promise you this is true. So we're all sat on the grass, and the guy was like, I've got these photos, like, do you want to see? So we were all looking at these photographs, and what this boy was doing was creating water sculptures with what looked like he was just doing that, psh, but what he was actually doing, somehow, some way, he was actually creating sculptures that would last, just of a second, because of the nature of water, but because the camera could freeze frame these shots, it captured it, and they were so clear you couldn't deny. Like, there was a picture of a dolphin and a baby dolphin next to it, a fish, I can't remember what else there was now, but it was so amazing and mind-blowing and almost like unbelievable that it could be possible. It moved me to tears, and the other people that were with me, because it was just so magical and beautiful. And also I cried because I thought, it's no wonder a lot of autistic kids get misunderstood, because most people don't have the skill and the insight and the sensitive senses that some of our autistic kids have. And all this behaviour looks like one thing, when in actual fact it's purposeful and meaningful and beautiful. I know the parents were blown away. It really helped them ease up on worrying about him playing with water all the time. They realised he was like an artist, and he was creating these amazing sculptures. So it really helped them as a family. It was a real, it was just gorgeous. So I just wanted to share that. So what what neurotypical people see isn't always the full picture. There's always a reason why our kids play the way they do. There's always a reason why they do what they do. It's either for us to figure out why, or if we can't figure it out, just accept it, As long as they're happy. They've got enough to deal with and cope with in this world without worrying about what they love doing and what they're into. Anyway, so any kind of thing they do, but we're talking about water, could give them a lot of peace. So, and if they're in the bath, they like being in the bath, and they like submerging under the bath and just putting full body in the bath. It might be that they just really love feeling how their bodies feel in the water. It might be that they just can actually feel where their bodies start and finish, because some autistic people find that difficult to know where their bodies are in space, which is why sometimes they like to be squeezed or wear weighted blankets or need shoes on or whatever. And maybe it's something to do with that. Or maybe they can just relax, and maybe if they're in any pain, they won't feel any pain anymore while they're in the water. Or maybe they like this, being under the water, so it shuts out all the normal chaos and sounds and stuff that can stress them out, and they can just hear the water sounds, which is a really lovely feeling. I think there's quite a lot of people that like that. They just really might love being around water. So it's not just about cleansing and bathing and keeping clean. It's an actual, like a therapy to them, like an actual, if you want to give a word, there you go, water therapy. Why not? You don't need another person or an adult necessarily to provide therapy. Sometimes the kids are clever at finding their own. And I try and do that with our son, Georgie, is like, and his whole life, everything, because he never played with toys, like in the so-called traditional way. He wasn't interested in playing with cars and trains and, pretend towns and make-believe games and all of that stuff. So whenever he was interested in anything and played with anything, whatever it was, even if it was blowing out candles and blowing them out again and again and again and again and again and asking me to light them and blow them out, to me that was him playing. That was an opportunity for me to interact and him to interact with me. It doesn't really matter what it is as long as it's safe and harmless. Like, I saw every activity as play. And it's all purposeful, and they all learn in their own way, in their own pace, and they get so much pleasure from whatever it is that they're doing. And if you watch eventually, and if they invite you in, it's gold. It means you get to connect with your child on their terms, and you'll be surprised how much fun you're going to have. Sometimes I put Epsom salts in Georgie's bath, and it's really good to cleanse bodies, but you only have to put a little bit in, like quarter of a cup or something, and it's got magnesium in it, which is always good for bones and general health. I mean, Google it, look it up. It's not a drug or anything like that. It's you can buy it in the supermarket. It's Epsom salts. It's been around for donkey's years. It's just, instead of putting bubble bath in or some kind of oil in, you can put Epsom salts as well as bubble bath, actually. So water and bath play can be an absolute joy, and it's a cheap, easy activity for your kids to do. You can, keep topping up the water so it's warm for them. And if it becomes a point where they're in there for hours and hours and they find it difficult to get out, you could eventually introduce, for those that don't like water, like a timer, like a visual timer, you can buy big giant ones that are, an hour or 2 hour or 20 minutes or whatever. And you can sort of introduce that if it became a big issue. And then now we're in the bath, and then we're going to get out and we're going to do this on a visual board, and make that activity, the next thing that they do when they get out of the bath, really pleasurable. Something that they really love doing as well, to give them an incentive to get out of the bath, so that, because if they've been in that really beautiful, safe, decompressing, chilling out, resetting place that brings them ultimate joy, and then someone's like, well, you've got to come out of that joy now. It's going to be really hard for them to do that, okay? So, find something that's equally as pleasurable for them if you can, and if there's something else that they really love. Also, if if they love being in the water, and you want to get a bit creative, or you haven't got a bath, you've only got a shower, you could still let them play in the shower for absolutely ages, as long as your water stays hot. What you can do is you can get some tarpaulin, which is really cheap, or a shower curtain. You can put it on the floor, and you can either have water trays with different toys and things in, and sprays and whatnot. I mean, there's so many water play activities that you can do, that involve pouring and spraying and measuring and just splashing. If your kid just likes being in the water and just likes watching it splash, George still does that now. He's in the sea every weekend, and he's, we're always out at rivers and stuff, and he still loves to make patterns. And I've taken loads of pictures. I haven't seen any sculptures yet, but he creates some amazing patterns, and he just loves that. So if you're worried about wet walls and floors, then just cater for that, so that everyone can have a great time, especially in the winter months. I've seen things online of parents putting great big bits of tarpaulin down, and then letting their kids just slide on their bum up the corridor of the house and the hallway, which is awesome because their kids, sometimes our autistic kids, as you well know, not always, but sometimes they don't want to go anywhere, like during their summer holidays, or they find it really difficult to go out into public crowded places. And so it means you think, oh, I'm stuck at home all day, they're stuck at home all day, and you run out of things to do. So you have to get really creative and really funky. And some parents put some stuff online what they would do with their kids, and I just thought it was fantastic. They were all awesome. I've talked about the egg timer already and the board. Another thing, that sometimes a kid in a bath that loves being in the bath, loves being in the water, loves that, loves it, doesn't want to get out because of the stuff that's going to come after. So one, the transition is difficult in itself. You're going from a nice warm bath to coming out to being chilly. But they may not like the after stuff. Like George loves being in the water, loves being in the bath, but he doesn't really like being dried or he certainly doesn't like having his hair dried. I mean, he tolerates it. He's 14 now, but it's been a build up. So he used to really, really get stressed about having his head rubbed. So I just used to dab his hair and just keep dabbing it and squeezing it out as quickly as I could and without hurting him. And he seemed to be okay with that. And then just slowly over the years, not days, not hours, years, sometimes you've got to be really patient. And now he can tolerate, a little bit of rubbing, but not much. So George is in the lounge, so I'm just checking that he's all right. Yeah. So sometimes that's the reason why they don't want to get out of the bath, as well as loving the water. So I'd, warm up the towel on the radiator and, make it as pleasant as possible for them. So if your child loves water and they like going out but they don't like going to public places, go Google wherever you live. There will be rivers nearby or close by. There will be, we live in Wales, so we've got loads. We've got loads of rivers and loads of streams and loads of lakes and all of that. But even if you live in a city, there's going to be places you can go that is a natural stream or river. Take them there, take pictures of, go find it, get yourself cozy with it so you know what's what. Make sure that you can go through gates and whatnot, and then just take some photographs of it, print them off, and then show your child. And then during the holidays you can go there. We got George a wetsuit. We invested in a wetsuit and special water shoes, like just really good ones that help keep him warm. And it's just such a brilliant investment because he's in the water, like I say, all through the year, even in the winter. And he absolutely loves it. It brings him so much joy, and it means I get to get out and about in the countryside as well. So it's a win-win. What else have I written here? That's what I was going to say, because if we worry too much about how much they're playing with it and it becomes too much of an obsession, what I have learned over the years from other autistic people, and it kind of makes sense to me, is that if we stop our children from doing what their joys are, one, how's that fair? Like, they will find other interests, they will veer to enjoying other things, they will. George has. It's just that water is still his number one passion, and we've all got those things. We've all got things we like doing, but then there's a couple of things, or one thing that we're like, that is my favourite thing to do. Like, why shouldn't our autistic children have that right? They're just like any other human being, and they're allowed to play for the sake of playing. All play is purposeful, in my opinion, and in my knowledge as a professional early years worker and as a mother. But for those of us that don't see that, because we don't get that, or we're told that by other outside influences, all play is purposeful, or action or experiences are purposeful. And if you do stop these passions, special interests, and other people that don't really understand call them obsessions, which to me seems like quite a negative word, really. It means they're gonna search for it elsewhere. So, as an example, that boy who created the water sculptures, when no one knew what he was doing, and his need and desire to do that was so strong, he would dive off of the horse to get there. He didn't think about whether he'd fall off and bang his head. But what he would also do is, like, if he saw a detergent bottle or a bottle of bleach or like a spray or something where he could see liquid, if he could see liquid inside a bottle, regardless of what it was, because he was too young to understand the difference between water to drink and detergent and bleach and kitchen clean sprayers, all of that. He didn't know the difference. So he would just frantically try and open it just so that he could get some water so he could create these sculptures. Well, obviously you don't want your child messing with all these different bleaches and stuff. So, but it proved, and then when we figured out why he was doing what he was doing, it was like, my God, no wonder he wanted to do it so bad. Like, look what he's creating. So it's always worth accommodating their needs and their passions, and eventually, as time progresses, they'll find other interests as well. It's just, and you can introduce new things while they're doing the thing they love. I'm going to do a video about that, about academic stuff when they're older, that if they're still only like bouncing on a trampoline, or they're still only like doing whatever is their passion, you can start introducing other things to them while they're doing their passion. I mean, that's something that you might think, how can they concentrate on that if they're already doing that? You'll be surprised, because it's not just an activity. Sometimes these things are soothers, calmers, they block out other stimuli. So you'll be surprised what an autistic person can hear and do, as well as doing something else. I'm not saying all autistic people do that, but some can, and some people can't do more than one thing. Some people can do a couple of things. So just to bear all of that in mind. So, water is a wonderful thing. So I hope there were some good tips there, and some useful stuff about why our kids might like to play with water, and how to encourage that. A real need for it, and the joy that you can have with it with them as well. And next week